guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another First Division show. Delighted to welcome Sean Lean on the show today. Sean, how are you doing? You well?
Yeah, it's good. It's good to be back after a long hiatus.
Hiatus, yeah,
We're
that's
only,
the
we're
word
only,
I would use as well. Yeah. We'll start off with the Carlisle, and no wonder Keith didn't join us today. Only kidding, Keith. If you're watching, then it finished Bray Wanderers nil, Treaty United 3. One of the surprises of the weekend, I'd have to say, particularly result-wise. You know what I mean? End of Curran with a penalty in 71. Armshaw with two late goals for Treaty to give them a fantastic 3-0 win, and Bray, and all of a sudden, Treaty have won three games, having beaten Kerry the other day as well. They're on 13 points, and they're only 3 points behind Bray in the table, who are in the playoffs. So suddenly things are looking up for Treaty, but we'll talk about a few surprise results, I think. But for me, this was a big surprise, certainly the scoreline.
yeah, I mean, I couldn't believe it when, I was looking at the result and 1 second it was 2-0, and the other second it was 3-0, and it seemed like, they were scoring at will. I'd say that was Bray just trying to go for it though at the end.
Mm.
But yeah, Trinity have really picked up steam. I mean, the 4-0 win against Kerry, I think part of that was down to how poorly Kerry played in that game, but
Mm.
Trinity certainly picked up steam. And on the other hand, Bray, they haven't won since April 7th, and that includes the Leinster Cup, Senior Cup semi-final against Ulster Celtic. So they're kind of at a
Mm.
low ebb at the moment. I mean, I thought they were unlucky on Friday, all right, but
Mm.
results, it's a results business, and I mean, and we're going to talk about it in the predictions. But if they don't win on Friday, that'll mark a month without getting a win, and that time, it's time to worry because even though Bray are in a good position now, you talk about Treaty picking up steam, and they're not the only team.
Mm.
The first division in a month's time could look very different. So, uh, I think, there's going to have to be. I think they've been struggling with injuries, all right, Bray, but
Mm.
it was. I think they definitely would have expected more than they would have expected definitely to beat Treaty at home, and look, not taking that away from Treaty, but you definitely would have favoured Bray in that game.
Yeah, for Bray, like it's one win and five, but they'd be disappointed because with the Friday Monday situation that they obviously put up a good fight against Waterford, and they probably would have been, their fans would have been going into the game against Treaty and going, look, decent display against Waterford, only pipped, but hopefully we beat Treaty at home, because the Friday and Monday they were fortunate because both games were at
Mm,
the Carlisle grounds. You know what I mean? There was no
yeah.
travelling per se involved or anything like that. So from that point of view, they'll be disappointed to come away with no points from their two home games. Then,
Mm. Yeah, I mean, look, and on Friday, and I said they were unlucky,
yeah.
because I think if Max Murphy hadn't have gotten sent off, and to be honest, I don't know what he was sent off for. The
Mm.
Bray players didn't protest it too much, so I assumed that the second yellow was warranted. But
Mm.
I think if they'd have stayed with 11 men, they mightn't have won the game because at that point we were kind of all over them. But
Mm.
I don't know would they have lost the game.
Mm. Yeah, it's difficult to say, but as you say, Treaty be delighted with that win, and it's amazing how things can change because people are talking about them for being down the table alongside Kerry type job. You know what I mean? But they're back in the playoff picture, I suppose. And that's a good thing, I suppose, about the playoffs is that a team like Treaty all of a sudden with a couple of wins can target it again, So the playoffs just keeps everything competitive, doesn't it? The idea of it, I suppose.
Yeah. Hang on, sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, just with the playoffs there, I mean, Treaty, I was going to say, be delighted because a couple of wins and suddenly they're back in the
Mm,
playoff, contention. And that's the amazing thing about this league, and I suppose that's what the playoffs bring, really. That there's not much dead
mm.
rubber scenarios,
It looks like Galway and Waterford are a bit above the rest.
I think so. Yeah, moving on to another shock result. And Waterford at the RSC were beaten 1-0 at home to Wexford. And we've been talking about poor Wexford, I mean, this season for the squad they have. But this, from Wexford's point of view, I'd like to think give them a shot in the arm. Dobbs with an early goal after 8 minutes. He's been probably one of their better performers this season, actually, Aaron Dobbs. And after 8 minutes, you would think actually that Wexford would still have a lot to do to go on and win the game, keep a clean sheet. It wasn't a smash and grab in terms of it was a late winner, let's say, but it was a blow at the time for Waterford. But obviously, another result later softened that blow, I suppose, that kind of way. But it was a blow for Waterford at the time. It's the first defeat under Keith Long, and you know you have to criticise Ron Coughlin for not scoring. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
No, 14. We'll get on to him actually later on, and I talk about the 14 goals he scored. But I suppose maybe they've become a bit reliant on him, Sean.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the only thing I would say is that the order the games happened in. We haven't moved on to Galway and Longford yet, but like,
Yeah.
if it had happened even the other way around, it would have been a lot worse. The fact that Longford went to beat Galway was kind of like a shot in the arm, because I was ready to say that the league was over and that Galway had won even at that early stage of the season. But look, fair play to Wexford. I mean, they really defended well. Some people, football purists would say, it's really, it's not nice to see a team, do that sort of stuff. But Wexford understood the assignment, and we opened ourselves up to that by conceding so early on in the game. That, I was initially a lot more critical of the performance, but to be fair, we were dealing with injuries at left back. We Brian Burke was suspended, Darren Power was injured, Killian Cantwell was sick. So that's three candidates to play a left back. The Barry Dyson there, left back. That's not his position. He drifted. I think there were problems that were there beforehand. Like we weren't very solid defensively, and the squad depth, I think, is not there as well. We're going to have to definitely improve in July when the summer window opens, and that was a sign of that. There might be no harm that this did happen, because as I said, there was the game against Athlone, the game against Bray. I thought, we got away with a few things.
Yeah, absolutely. Finished Cobh Ramblers 4, Kerry FC 1, Warrawoo, O'Brien, Lyons, Kervick with the goals. Kelleher with a late goal for Kerry FC, and keeps Cobh in the playoff positions. They're fourth in the league and 18 points. Doing very well compared to last season. Kerry still on bottom with 2 points, no wins. And I suppose the Friday and Monday thing isn't going to help Kerry feel, but you would have to say 2 bad enough beatings for them in the last 2 games against Cobh obviously had 2 derbies as well and Treaty, but from Cove's point of view, are they doing better than you thought they would so far, Cobh?
I wouldn't say that, to be honest. I think Kerry, there's a few games that I thought they could have won, and they haven't done that. Fair enough. The 4-1 against Cobh, I wasn't too sort of bothered about, because Cobh have been playing very well. And it was the reverse fixture. They would have had the crowd behind them in this game. So 4-1, I thought, well, look, it's not respectable, but like it's it's sort of, it was to be expected. The game against Treaty United, though, was very, very poor. You look at earlier in the season, and Treaty have improved since then, but you would figure that Kerry would be doing the same. I mean, I thought, it's funny if you look at, because Treaty were the last new side in the league, and if you look at their recruitment when they started versus Kerry's when they came in, I would say that they're about on par, but I would say maybe Kerry have a slight edge with some talent. I think experience is what's missing, but you'd figure that they'd be picking that up by now. Matt Keane hasn't been in the team for a number of weeks now, and I'd wonder what's going on there, because he's obviously fit. He's coming off the bench. I figure that he would be a prime candidate to be starting every game.
Yeah.
That he'd be sort of the player. Maybe you build your team around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't want to say anything too drastic, because it is still a new team. And, I think they kind of acknowledged that Billy Dennehy was only going to be here for this year, and then they were going to look for somebody who was maybe more suited to management. But yeah, I think there's a few management decisions that maybe, there's a few things that maybe Kerry would benefit from a more experienced manager. I don't think you could come away from this weekend as a Kerry fan and say, like, look, that is what it is. I think you need to demand a small bit of improvement. It is nice to see, though, however, that Kerry fans are sticking by their team. That's nice to see.
Yeah, no, it is, to be fair. Finished Longford 10-1, Galway United nailed the other surprise, and Galway had won 11 out of 11, which was incredible. But Longford done well to keep them at bay and keep a clean sheet. Boudiaf, again, similar to the Waterford game, but an early goal from Boudiaf after 3 minutes, who I think is a really good player, to be fair. He was at Drogheda there before. I thought he was going to make it there. But anyways, with Longford now, and look, a bit like Wexford, both teams have two new managers this season. Keddy at Wexford, obviously, and Henderson at Longford. So massive win for Longford. Still second bottom in the league, but again, only 5 points off the playoff position, and huge win for them. And their away form seemed to be better than their home form in general. So this was a massive win for them at home, I suppose. And against a team like Galway, who are flying. It's going to be interesting to see what Galway do now as well, because when you do so well and then you get your first hiccup, and the next game is always critical, and it's interesting to see who the next game is against. We get on to that later, but obviously this was a brilliant result as well for Waterford, who had lost the previous day as well.
Mm. They're kind of an unusual team, Longford. I
Yeah.
mean, one week they go out and they lose 3-1 at home to Athlone, and now they're out and they've beaten Galway, and they're the first team to do it. You can kind of see signs of it, all right, that they seem to match up well against Galway, because in the
Mm.
reverse fixture they only conceded very late on to lose 1-0.
Mm.
So yeah, I and we said this since the start of the season that Longford were taking a huge gamble on a lot of these young players, and I think they got a bit lucky today, all right. But the talent is definitely there, and this will certainly be a huge shot in the arm for him. Uh, I don't. I'm not sure how much this is gonna carry forward for them, because everybody's starting to improve at this time in the season. But they've got a game next week that they could use to build some momentum, or
Mm.
this week I should say, that they can use to build some momentum. And if that happens, if these young fellas start getting the confidence that they need to play a bit of ball and to play as well as they're capable of playing, they could be a really serious threat in the first division.
Yeah, because their fans will feel like it's all right beating Galway, which is a great result, but you want to back that
Mm.
up the following week then, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, look, Galway would be disappointed, but gauging from the reaction of Galway fans, they're nobody's hitting the panic switch yet. This is being treated as a blip, and they're regrouping for Friday. And look, if I mean, well, hopefully they don't, but if they do get the result on Friday, this will be forgotten very quickly.
Yeah, finished finally. Finn Harps won Athlone 4. Silva with a late goal for Finn Harps, but Pirro with 2 goals, scored 9 goals this season. Doyle and Adi Kadir, I think his name, has scored a goal as well for Athlone. And a massive win for Athlone. They're actually third in the league. They're the best of the rest, if you like, at the moment. Everyone's expecting Galway Waterford or Waterford Galway, whichever, you know what I mean? But and I think there'll be a big enough gap. But Athlone are the best of the rest after 12 games, and they had that start and then had that little blip, and we thought, they're going to hair down the table again. But they're very much amongst it, and they're showing maybe that they can actually really challenge for a playoff place this season. That's a big result to go up to Donegal and beat Finn Harps 4-1 for Athlone. There's no question about it.
Hmm. Well, yeah, I think it's disappointing for us for Harps to lose by such
Very
a
disappointing.
scoreline. I mean, they wouldn't have expected it, but yeah, look, take nothing away from Athlone. They've been seriously impressive this season. Piero, of course, has been the main man for him, but the American contingent there in general seems to be doing well. They've got other players like Patrick Hickey that have they've done seriously well. And
That the hardest to judge nearly when it comes to when they recruit players, because they kind of come in unannounced almost, that kind of way,
mm,
and a lot of them are from abroad. It's very difficult to always judge Athlone, like.
it is, yeah, and that seems to be kind of, I suppose that could be the way with them for a number of years, because they're partnering up with that academy in the US now. So this could be the first of many
Mm.
waves of
Mm.
players coming in.
Mm.
But yeah, look, I suppose the important thing for Athlone is, even if they can, if they're even in the playoffs, that's well above expectations that a lot of people had for them for this season. And you know, as I said, like, it's been very it was a poor performance from Harps. They'd be very disappointed to lose by such a magnitude at home, especially since Finn Park has been such a tough place to go to in recent years. But yeah, look, it's another win for Athlone, and you can seriously take nothing away from them. Not only are they getting the results, but they're fun to watch, and
More goals.
with Piero they've always got some attacking threat, and
Mm.
look, it's easy to cheer for 'em.
Absolutely. And we'll get on to the fixtures on Friday or over the weekend. They're all on Friday, actually, aren't they? The five, they are, yeah. Cobh Ramblers, Finn Harps, how you seen that one?
Uh, I think it's hard to go with anyone other than Cobh, to be honest.
Mm.
Having to go all the way down to Cobh for Harps is difficult,
It's a long one.
and you know Cobh have been playing very well. They've look, the result against Athlone, that was a bit of a blow for him. I mean, I know I said Athlone are playing well, but I think Cobh are still the more complete package.
Mm.
But I still think that this is going to be a good win for Cobh. Maybe I'm going to say 3-1 to them.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think with Finn Harps, they had a couple of good results of late, but they're still liable to conceding a lot of goals in games as well. And actually, Cobh kind of are scoring goals in their games as well. And Coleman's Park, and there's a crowd there. Coleman's Park is the type of place that can be very, the atmosphere can be good when there's a crowd there.
Mm.
Like, so it's a long trip for
Yeah.
Harps and their fans. I wouldn't say many would go down, to be fair, on a Friday evening. It's difficult to make these trips on a Friday evening,
Mm.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, Hearts will obviously have to perform a lot better. They'll have to defend a lot better. They're trying to play in such a way as well. I think the pitch in Cobh with the weather and that is, can be a little heavy, let's say, as well. So it's difficult to really
Mm.
pass the ball around if the weather's poor, like, you know what I mean, in that part of the country. But I agree with you. I think Cobh will win the game. I think you said 3-1. I think they might win it comfortably as well. I'll go 2-0 there. Kerry FC and Longford now. We spoke earlier about Longford, and look, if they beat Galway at home and didn't bounce back with a win against Kerry, it would be extremely disappointing. Wouldn't it? Say the
Yeah,
least.
well, I did want to say Kerry were gonna win this one when I was looking at it, but then the weekend Kerry have had versus the weekend Longford have had.
Mm,
It's hard not to say Longford are gonna win this one. They've got to be like absolute. They've got to be on cloud nine after that win
yeah,
against Long or against Galway, and you know, uh, I mean Kerry have just lost Caelan Spillane there. It was experience, good bit of experience for them. Uh, you know, it's tough to say because it's going to be. I did really feel on paper this was a winnable game for Kerry, but just on the basis of I'm going to have to say Longford are going to win this one, and I'm going to say 2-0.
yeah. I mean, it's hard to go against Longford as well, but at the same time, they've only scored 10 goals a season. That's one of the things that go against them compared to their
Mm,
Midlands rivals. Athlone scored 22, so that's been their Achilles heel. Like you see against Galway, I know they won 1-0. But the early goal helps, and they can sit back a little bit and that kind of thing. But they do struggle to create chances overall. I think in games, although they do have good players, I think when he goes to score 10, I think Gerigi, I can never pronounce his name. I think he scored half their goals, 5 goals. He came back from Shelburne there, and I think he scored 5 goals out of the 10 as well. So, I did think they'll win, but I think they might make a meal out of it. You know what I mean? So I think it might be 1-0 here to Longford, I think, as well. So
mm.
yeah, so the other fixtures were next were Treaty at Athlone, and yeah, I mean both teams will go into this with a bit of confidence. Obviously, Treaty with 2 wins in the bounce, Markets Field, Athlone, won't fear going there at the same time. So this could be an interesting game. I think there might be goals in this one.
Yeah, this one's really difficult to predict.
Yeah.
I was looking actually. I mean, it's difficult to say. I mean, the someone's going to have to lose this game, and you don't really know who's going to be on the basis of
Mm.
form. Well, I mean, it could be a draw, but that'd be very anticlimactic. But uh, I'd have to say Athlone gonna win this one. I'm gonna maybe say they're gonna win this one 2-1. This is like probably the pick I'm least confident about this week.
Yeah.
But it's I just like Athlone this season. I mean,
Yeah.
they they're they're scoring for fun, and I don't know, will Treaty be able to keep them occupied at the back? I
Mm.
think teams have had a bit more luck against Treaty in that regard than they've had against Athlone. I mean, Galway weren't able to stop them scoring the best defense in the league. We
Mm.
weren't able to stop them. They scored three against us. Now, admittedly, we shouldn't have let them back into the game, but they still
Mm.
scored three when they were 4-0 down. So, it's going to be difficult to keep them contained. And for that reason, I'm going to say that Athlone win this one 2-1.
Yeah, I'll go 1-1 for this one. I think, yeah, as you say, Treaty probably don't feel as strong defensively this season. Athlone are good going forward this season. There's no doubt about that in a general way. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it might be a draw this one. 1-1 will go for Wexford Bray. And the funny thing is, obviously, Ian Ryan has gone back to Wexford for the first time as well, taking his Bray side there. And we were kind of lauding Bray a lot this season, giving them a lot of credit. And then with Wexford, kind of not so much credit. Yeah, Wexford win, leapfrogs them ahead of Bray in the table as well. So just shows how it can turn around so quickly. Bray had that unbeaten start, but 1 win and 5, as I said. They've lost 4 games now as well. And not including that Leinster senior league defeat as well, But I don't know. I mean, Wexford, Ferry Carry Park, you would think will go into this after winning in Waterford with a bit of confidence. Bray, they're going to have to improve the performances if they're going to get a result here. This is another difficult one, I think, to judge. But 2 weeks ago or even a week ago, maybe I would have said Bray easily, but I'm not so sure now.
yeah, I'd be in that same boat. I don't really know which way this one's going to go either. I mean, like it's not a long away trip, so I don't think home advantage matters too much.
Mm,
Um, but so I'm kind of yeah, it's really difficult to say. I mean, I'm gonna say draw because
mm,
it's really you couldn't even fit a piece of paper between these two teams, I don't think. But if I'm gonna stick with my prediction of draw. If you ask me, if you told me like somebody has to win this game, you have to pick it. I'd say that Wexford probably have a bit more. They've shown that they can win a bit more in recent times. I mean,
mm,
Bray have gone good long while without winning a game,
mm.
and they haven't really been the same since they got that 6-0 thrashing away to Galway. I mean, yeah, and now as I said, like I'm gonna stay with the draw, say 1-1,
Mm.
but I don't know.
It's a tough one to predict as well, but my gut
Mm,
is telling me that Bray might just nick this one. So we'll see what happens there. Now, obviously, the big game of the weekend is second place Waterford travelling to first place Galway. Um, Galway in 33 points, Waterford in 26. I mean, a win for Galway can put them 10 points above Waterford and make it very difficult at this early stage. But a win for Waterford could put them 4 points behind Galway all of a sudden as well. And, I did say even though Galway were winning all those games and that, 10, 11 games in a row, whatever, they got to 11, obviously, but that, when you lose or drop points for the first time, sometimes you can go in a bit of a dodgy run. And if Waterford were in a position to take advantage of that, it would be interesting. I still think there's an awful long way to go. I wouldn't even say a Galway win, in my personal opinion, seals it. Like, far from it. But it would obviously put them in a brilliant position. But it's a very interesting game, as I said. You said Waterford squad's a bit thin. I agree with you there when they're missing some players. Ronan Coughlin, 14 goals this season, just ridiculous. Always a fan of Ronan when he was at Sligo, came to Pats, and I thought he was a good signing for Pats actually, but he suffered a lot of muscle injuries at Pats, and then by the time he got back, he was kind of third choice striker, and he could rarely get in the team. So I thought he was a good pickup by Waterford, and look, he's done better than anyone would have predicted so far, hasn't he? And like, he's going to be a key player in this game, but he will come up against a very good Galway defence. Let's be right as well, and the likes of Vincent Bourdon has scored 8 goals this season from midfield. I think Hurley scored 6 or 7 from midfield. So Galway have goal threats everywhere. Stephen Walsh obviously as well. Everywhere. But I suppose with Waterford, you'd probably argue at this minute in time, you'd like to see them have more goal threat from elsewhere, let's say, on the pitch. But Keith Long and John Caulfield, you're talking about two quite experienced managers who've obviously Keith
mm,
Long has managed in the Premier Division with Bohemians for 8 years, you know what I mean? And he's been involved in big European games and all that kind of stuff and knows the league inside out. John Caulfield has won league titles, etc., as Cork City manager and all that kind of stuff as well. So
mm,
it's and of course Caulfield's rivalry with Waterford is interesting as well. So there's a lot of that going on as well. But it's a very difficult game to call and judge. I get the
mm.
sense it might be a little bit cagey. Um, I don't know. It's tough. It'll be interesting if Galway react to their first defeat as well. Like, and how are you
Mm.
seeing it though from a Waterford perspective, I suppose?
Yeah, but I'd be a little bit more pessimistic than you, or a little bit more, I suppose, drastic about it because I think if Galway do win it, that it's going to be
Mm,
really difficult for us to claw back. It'll be 10 points, and we'll have to play, and we only have to play them twice. So even
mm.
if we lose this game and we win all our games and Galway win all their games, they'll still be 4 points ahead of us at the end of the season.
But that begs the
And
question actually that you mentioned. Now, how do you think Galway should set or Galway Waterford should set up? Now, I know Keith Long as a manager generally doesn't set up defensively, to be honest. But do you think Waterford actually should take a more cautious approach, or do you think they should just go and try and win the game?
I think if we take a defensive approach, we'll get torn apart
Right.
because our defense has not been our strong point this season.
Mm.
Got two good centre halves, all right, Phillips and Cantwell, and
Mm.
we'll have everybody available for this game, which is something we didn't have for
But
Wexford.
it's more like, I
But
suppose, the defensive shape of the team rather than the actual defense, if you know what I mean. Like,
well, I don't think we can because I think
yeah.
Galway are bigger and stronger than us, and if we try to do that, they have fellas like Barton and McCarthy who are just we're gonna bully our defense out of it
As well as
eventually.
that, like, Keith Longshore is aware of this as well, but set pieces are huge against Galway. I mean, the defenders, Broder,
Yeah,
can all score goals from free kicks, corner kicks. And in a tight game like that, sometimes a set piece can be the difference. So Waterford really have to look out for set pieces and be really focused on every
mm.
single set piece.
Yeah, I mean, and particularly if Galway score early,
Mm,
that's a huge problem for us then
yeah.
because we've got to try and break them down. And you know, we, we've got going forward. It's really going forward for us. It's just Parsons and Coughlin. Those
Mm.
two link up really well,
That's what I
and
mean with the
they don't.
Junior and Patterson. I know it goes without saying in a way, but you're just losing that little edge there, like, you know.
Yeah, it's a huge loss. I mean,
Yeah.
look, we're playing on the other wing. We're alternating between
Mm,
Ido and McMenemy, and I think McMenemy has been the better of those two. But even then, he's still not a winger, so
mm,
it's hard to replace
mm,
two players of those caliber.
mm,
Parsons, to be fair to him, has done very well since he came in. He's got a real strong work ethic, and he's a clever player. And he supplied Ronan Cochran with a lot of the assists for his goals there.
mm.
Ryan Burke, funny enough, I would say, is probably our biggest threat down the left hand side. He likes to go forward a lot. He was a huge loss against Wexford. I think he would have given us another dimension to our attack as well.
Funnily enough, Keith Long
It's
got
difficult
him
to
the
say.
goals, actually, funnily enough, just as a
Mm,
side point.
yeah, I mean, it's just so. How do you break down Galway? Like, I know
Physical,
Longford
teams
did it.
are physical, very physical, and will try and
Mm,
impose their physicality on you. And have got goals all over the pitch in every position going, even
mm.
defense.
Yeah, that's the problem with Galway and how you break him down because the way Longford did it is like, basically
There you go.
I don't mean to demean Longford, but they
Mm.
scored a lucky goal after like 3 minutes and then hold up for the rest of the game.
Yeah,
And they got lucky with a few. Galway probably could have scored a number of times
yeah.
during that game. So, we may have to hope for the same. I think it would be interesting. It's definitely very interesting, of course, if we do win because it opens up the whole league and
Mm.
Galway are now all of a sudden gone from having not lost all season, to having lost two on the bounce. And, you wonder then, I
Confidence.
mean, I think Galway are stronger than that. Like, this is probably
Mm.
wishful thinking from me, but I think, it could happen. Nothing's
Mm.
impossible that, problems start to, cracks start to show in Galway. But
Mm.
I'm going to say, to give my prediction, I'm going to say we're going to win because I think even a draw, while not the end of the world, is not, this is the game we have to win, really.
Yeah, I think my prediction, I'm going to go for a draw. I think we 1-1 draw. I think Waterford may have to score first, as you mentioned as well,
Mm,
maybe, possibly. I just think sometimes a pity all these kind of games are on Friday evening. Like I'll be at Shamrock Rovers and Bohemians, so I would have loved to have seen this
mm,
particular game as well. Like, you know what I mean? I think it'll be a very interesting game tactically as well. Caulfield and Horgan as such against Keith Long as well. And be interested to see how Keith Long does in his first big match in this actual league. Not that I mean, look, he's
yeah.
managed against Shamrock Rovers with a Bowls team and Europe and all that. But you know what I mean? Does he will he change anything in what he's tried to do so far and that? And as I said, Galway will try and impose himself physically. There's no doubt about that. So for me, yeah, no, really interesting match. I'd love to see it, and I think I'll go for a 1-1 draw. So look, Sean, thanks for coming on. That was absolutely brilliant. I suppose viewers at home, let us know your thoughts on the games last week, predictions of the games on Friday. Especially if you're Galway and Waterford fans, an interesting game. Gives your thoughts on maybe the
Mm.
strengths and weaknesses of Galway, strengths and weaknesses of Waterford, whatever. Subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching. Cheers, Sean.
Cheers, Keith.